That is just crazy.
It becomes less crazy once we understand the ideas behind the craziness. What sustainable medicine states, that is, this is right from the Rio Declaration on the Environment and Development, 1992. Human beings are entitled to a healthy and productive life in harmony with nature. The important point for those who formulated this concept is in harmony with nature. And in 1994, in Cairo, there was something called the Cairo Protocol, which came out of one of the big Agenda 21 meetings in Egypt. The Cairo Protocol states very directly that people burden the environment, and therefore it is necessary to limit the number of people on the earth. One way to do it is to achieve what they call environmental equity. And that means that there must be equity among all species in the environment. And if to do something for a human being is going to injure that polar bear or that oak tree, that's it. Can't happen. It's an astonishing business.
It is.
Now, there are ways that we can get around this. And we have got to actually take very dramatic steps, because if we don't, we are going to recognize that America is actually imitating the European culture of death. What do I mean by culture of death? Some of the people listening may have heard of what is called the Groningen Protocols. This is from Holland. Groningen is a town as well as a big hospital medical center. Groningen hospital protocols maintain that children who are hopelessly incurable, that is, who either have congenital diseases or have deeply painful medical or psychiatric conditions, are to be euthanized, otherwise killed. Even if the patient's, the child patient's parents protest, experts, physicians will decide and override the patient's desires.
That's in existence right now?
It is in existence. Go online. If you doubt me, look up Groningen. It's Groningen. We are attempting here in America to imitate the Groningen protocols because Groningen has decided that these children who are chronically ill and who are hopelessly incurable are a burden upon the limited medical time and the limited medical personnel, as well as the limited medical techniques. And therefore, what would be fair and gracious and generous is to liberate these children, in their own best interests, of course, liberate them from painful life, which is a life not worth living, into beautiful death. Now, everyone was aware of what was happening during the Terry Schindler-Schiavo problem.
Mm-hmm.
People were constantly saying, oh, I would never want to live like that. Oh, let's liberate her from this painful life into beautiful death. That's what the attorney was constantly speaking about. And if you had a chance to read his book, for the moment I've forgotten his name. He agitates me so. I have a block for the moment. This dreadful attorney representing Michael Schiavo, Philos is his name, George Philos, wrote a book that is one of the more scary introductions to sustainable medicine, in which he states that he goes into what in essence is a spiritual out-of-body state in which he speaks with the person in the persistent vegetative state, which person asks him to liberate them from life to death, and therefore he goes ahead and does it. And he believes, this George Philos does, that euthanasia is a significant moral and ethical advancement over any cherishing of human life. And therefore, this whole idea of liberating those who want to leave life to beautiful death fits in directly with sustainable medicine.
Sounds like a really scary horror movie.
It really is. And what we've got to understand is that it is happening right now. And if anyone wants to check some of the books by Dr. Daniel Callahan, simply once again either go online or go to your library and you'll have the chance to read False Hopes, which has the subtitle Towards Affordable and Sustainable Medicine. And once again, sustainable medicine is known to people in Europe, although it is essentially unknown to Americans, because people in Europe are accustomed to socialized medicine, which has various forms of restrictions, and these restrictions ultimately lead to death.
Well, and it also sounds like what you're saying is that as an individual, you have no choice in what you do. That somebody else decides what's good for you or your family.
Right. Therefore, I encourage everyone who has any passion for living and any desire to control what is done to his or her body to instantly investigate, and then I hope also to set up a health savings account. Because a health savings account will enable you to be free of, say, an HMO deciding that, so sorry, for someone of your age and ethnicity, we are not going to allow X when you know that you need X, and you and your physician want to provide you with X, but the HMO or the PPO or whatever the organization or the insurance company is going to say, so sorry, not for you. But if you have a health savings account, then you are in charge of what you spend for whatever diagnostics, whatever treatment, and whatever cures you care to have.
Have you had any experience with that?
Oh, absolutely. I know this material very well. I've been working in Washington on this for a good long while. The health savings accounts are magnificent. What they do is to pair a private, you could call it a spending account. Let's hypothetically put $3,000 in it. We'll pair that with a high deductible catastrophic insurance policy, which has a deduction of $3,000. So the two work precisely in concert with one another. So you spend from your individual or family, you say it's a $5,000 put in that account, and you spend on whatever physician, whatever hospital, whatever treatment, whatever medication you want, your money, it's yours. And then if, God forbid, you have some sort of major crisis, and that would be anything that costs over the $5,000 in the account, then your insurance kicks in and you're covered. But if you're healthy and you are careful and you are prudent, most likely you are not going to spend anywhere near that $5,000. And the money then is yours. It rolls over to the next year. And it's very much like an IRA account. It's your money, it's your life, it's your body. You've got control over all. I like that.
Well, speaking of your body, I understand now, is your book out? Who owns your body, or is it forthcoming?
Well, it's supposed to be out. It's very, very frustrating. It's being published by Prager, this very illustrious, wonderful publishing house, and it's dated 2005, but truly, I've not yet seen it. So Who Owns Your Body? Doctors and Patients Behind Bars is done. It's been complete for about a year and a half, and it's been in production, and we should be seeing it before the end of the year. And every time I inquire, I am told that I am, in fact, going to be getting a new royalty check, and I've actually earned money on what I have never yet seen.
Well, that's good.
So that's hopeful that it will, in fact, soon appear.
Well, talk about what's in that book.
That book is, in essence, what led me to sustainable medicine. It does not really directly address sustainable medicine, but it deals with this strange change in the law that guides and guards medicine from a gentle, logical civil law to a vindictive and vicious criminal law, so that the law that guides physicians and surgeons, particularly those who take Medicare reimbursement, this law is so strict and so arbitrary and so, in a sense, it's volatile. It changes all the time. 132,000 pages of regulations, some of which are completely contradictory to one another, must be known and followed by every physician in America. And this leads to the likelihood, not just the possibility, but the likelihood that someone will, even when ethical and excellent, violate the rules. But the problem with criminal law is that if one violates a rule, then one is subject to prison and even death, that literally death,
Wow.
if one is not only accused but then convicted of a healthcare crime. So physicians and surgeons are in desperate positions, and I've been involved in many of in the defense of falsely accused physicians and surgeons nationwide who have been accused by, say, an envious competitor or a disgruntled fired office worker,
Mm-hmm.
or even a divorcing spouse,
Mm-hmm.
or a particularly obnoxious patient who has accused the physician of, say, providing medically unnecessary surgery. Well, when you think about that, how can something be medically unnecessary and still be fair? If the patient asks for it,
Right.
the patient gets better, and all is well. What happens, of course, is that medically necessary is now defined under this criminal law as whatever the government will pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't want to pay for it, it says, oh, well, so sorry, it's medically unnecessary, you shouldn't have done it. But as opposed to merely slapping the wrist of the practitioner who has provided the care, the physician is then accused of felonious behavior. And physicians have fewer protections of their constitutional rights than murderers, arsonists, and rapists, and therefore they are in terrible peril. Furthermore, patients are collectivized. That is, any patient who is in what is called a capitation group, or whose physician is paid by capitation, is merely a head. Literally, caput in Latin means head, so as if a head of cattle or a head of lettuce. One person is equal to every other person. There is no individualization, and the physician is paid per head, whether the head and the rest of the body come for care or not, and whether the head comes with a hangnail or a cardiac arrest. The patient comes with whatever he comes, but the physician is paid no more and no less for whatever care he must provide. Therefore, the incentive to physicians is to withhold expensive diagnostic and treatment and surgical care. And it's a vicious system. And the HMOs and some of the PPOs use capitation payments to physicians. So the book, Who Owns Your Body, exposes this criminalization of the physicians and the collectivization of the patients